morning everyone. So once again I'm starting with our fabulous Iron Man display because we've received some new photos. This is Logan with his fabulous Iron Man. Thanks Logan. Remember, if you'd like to send any in, this is the email address year3@stmartins.brighton-hove that should be .uk. So today's TLP is, can I invent dialogue for a story? So I'm going to read you just the first little part of chapter 2, and we're going to imagine a scene and write some dialogue, which just means people talking to each other. Right, let's have a go. The Iron Man, chapter 2. The return of the Iron Man. And this little boy, he's going to be very important. He's called Hogarth. One evening, a farmer's son, a boy called Hogarth, was fishing in a stream that ran down to the sea. It was growing too dark to fish, and his hook kept getting caught in weeds and bushes. So he stopped fishing and came up from the stream and stood listening to the owls in the wood further up the valley, and to the sea behind him. Hush, said the sea, and again, hush, hush, hush. Suddenly, he felt a strange feeling. He felt he was being watched. He felt afraid. He turned and looked up the steep field to the top of the high cliff. Behind that skyline was the sheer rocky cliff and the sea, and on that skyline, just above the edge of it, in the dusk, were 2 green lights. What were 2 green lights doing at the top of a cliff? Then, as Hogarth watched, a huge dark figure climbed up over the cliff top. The 2 lights rose into the sky. They were the giant figure's eyes. A giant black figure, taller than a house, black and towering in the twilight, with green headlamp eyes. The Iron Man! There he stood on the cliff top, looking inland. Hogarth began to run. He ran and ran. Home, home. The Iron Man had come back. So he got home at last, gasping for breath. He told his dad, an Iron Man, a giant. His father frowned. His mother grew pale. His little sister began to cry. So your task today is to think about what happened when Hogarth got home. Ted Hughes, the author, hasn't given us much information about what Hogarth and his dad said to each other. We know that Hogarth's dad believed Hogarth was telling the truth, but we don't know what he said and how he convinced his dad, and that's what we're going to imagine today. So our first job, or your first job, is to find a buddy and can you act out some dialogue. Now, this could be your grown-up at home, it could be your brother or sister, or if you've got nobody else, you could use two toys to talk to each other and imagine what they said. So this could be Hogarth and this could be his dad. So it's totally up to you. How are you going to act it out? What I want you to think about is what's being said. Luckily, I found 2 extremely good actors to pretend to be Hogarth and his dad, having that conversation when Hogarth runs home. Shall we see how they did?
Dad, I've seen something. It's really scary.
Calm down, son. What did you see?
I saw an iron giant. It was huge.
An iron giant? What do you mean?
It was a big thing made of metal. It was bigger than the trees.
And where did you see it?
It was down by the cliff.
Oh my goodness, right, I'll go and tell the other farmers. Well, I hope you've had as much fun as our actors did, acting out the scene where Hogarth goes home to his dad. Now, let's think about what was actually said. So we're going to work sentence by sentence just through the first few lines to work out what the actors said. These are going to be Hogarth's speech bubbles, what he said, And this is going to be what Dad says. Now, what we're not going to do for today is write said Dad, and we're not going to worry about our punctuation and our speech marks. That's going to come tomorrow. So today is just literally what was said in the speech bubbles. So you can go back and listen again if you like. So Hogarth said, "Dad, Dad, I've seen something, it's really scary." Shall we try and write that as a sentence? So starting with my capital, Dad, and a comma, Dad. And we need another capital there because it's his name. Dad, Dad. I might actually make that a really short sentence and put an exclamation mark in. Dad, Dad, I've, so another capital here, I've seen something really scary. And because he's shouting it, I think I'm going to finish the whole thing with an exclamation mark. Dad, Dad, I've seen something really scary. Because he's shouting it, isn't he? Now, let's go on to what Hogarth's dad said next. He said, "Calm down, son." So that's one sentence. Calm down, son. Full stop. What did you see? Now we know how to spell what. We mustn't forget that silent H. What did you see? Who knows what punctuation mark we need at the end of that sentence? That's right, it's a question using a question word, so we must put in a question mark. So, Dad, Dad, I've seen something really scary. Calm down, son. What did you see? Then Hogarth replies, I saw an iron giant. It was huge. I saw an iron giant. And we're not going to do capital letters for that because that's not actually his name. He's just saying what he saw. I saw an iron giant. It was huge. So I'm going to put a comma in there. I saw an iron giant. It was huge. And again, I'm going to end that with an exclamation mark because again, he's shouting. He's very scared at this point. Dad, Dad, I've seen something really scary. Calm down, son. What did you see? I saw an iron giant. It was huge. Okay, and then Hogarth's father replies, an iron giant? An iron giant? What do you mean? And again, I'm going to put a comma in here. An iron giant? What do you mean? And again, because I've got that question mark in there, I am going to use a question mark to finish my sentence because it's a question. Listen to the way we say it. An iron giant? What do you mean? He doesn't understand. So this is when Hogarth needs to come back and tell him what he means when he says an iron giant. Now, unfortunately, you don't have fancy speech bubbles like you would do in school, so I'm going to show you how to begin to record your dialogue into your English book at home. Now, I've actually chosen different coloured pencils for my speech bubbles, and the thing I would say about your speech bubbles is do make them nice and big, because it's better that they're too big than that you can't fit the last little piece in that you want. So let's start with Hogarth. I'm going to make Hogarth red, I think. So again, I'm going to do like a big circle, nice and big. I know how long my speech bubble is. So it's kind of a circle, and then we just put a little, so don't quite join up the circle, and then just put a little kind of triangle for the end of your speech bubble. Remember, we're not saying said Hogarth. We're just literally picking out what did he actually say. And he said, Dad, Dad, I've seen something really scary. And I would do your speech bubbles one at a time. Don't try and draw them all to start with, because then as you go, you can alter them as you need to. I've seen something really scary. That would be my top tip. Remember your exclamation mark. Don't leave him hanging without some sort of punctuation at the end. Now, I'm going to choose green for Hogarth's dad. So here's my next really big circle. Almost join it up, but not quite. And I'm going to have this speech bubble sticking out this way. So Hogarth standing on this side, we're imagining, and Hogarth's dad is standing on this side. And what did Hogarth's dad say next? He said, "Calm down, son." What did you see? And we mustn't forget that question mark. So this is the beginning of our dialogue. And I've separated, as I said, the red bubbles are Hogarth, the green bubbles are Hogarth's dad. And what I'd like you to do now is think about the dialogue that you've acted out. Hope you had fun doing that. And I'd like you to record some of your sentences like that. Because it's a conversation, it's one person talking, then the second. Person number one, person number two. Now, I wouldn't worry about doing lots and lots of sentences, because tomorrow we're going to learn how to punctuate these sentences, so you don't need hundreds. Do as many as you feel comfortable with. I'd rather have a few that were really well done and really clear, because that will make our work easier for tomorrow. Okay, enjoy your acting, enjoy your writing. Looking forward to seeing you later on Zoom. Goodbye.